This is a mock interview conducted by ForumIAS Academy at New Delhi. The interview panel includes eminent academicians, retired bureaucrats, and other luminaries. The objective of the program is to acquaint the candidate with the format and expectations of the personality test conducted by UPSC.
May I come in?
Come, Rishabh, come. Please come.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, sir. Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, sir.
Come, please sit down.
Thank you, ma'am.
So how are you, Rishabh?
Thank you, ma'am. I'm good.
You have come at the right time with a month to go.
Yes.
That's just the right time. And when people come at the last minute, there's very little that can be done then. So are you working somewhere?
Yes, ma'am.
Where are you working?
Ma'am, it is an EdTech startup, and I'm working as a product manager there since 2021.
Okay. Startup, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. You're from Saharanpur, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
So do you think that now with the renewed consciousness of environment and renewables and forest not being cut, what do you see as the future of the Saharanpur wood carving industry? Furniture, etc.
Ma'am, it is linked with the agroforestry. The wood that is being used in the industry, we can go for agroforestry, where at the boundaries of the farm, we can go for trees like eucalyptus, and we can use them in the wood carving industry as a sustainable future for tomorrow.
More theoretical than practical. Huh? Eucalyptus is eucalyptus should not be the choice, especially in Western UP, because eucalyptus.
Invasive species.
No, water.
Water gulping also.
It takes up all the water, and Vese, the water table is so low in Saharanpur and the areas around.
Yes, ma'am.
Because of so many borings.
Yes, ma'am.
So also eucalyptus is not the wood of choice. So not really a very interesting solution. But how is the industry doing? Have you any idea? Or you are out of touch now?
Ma'am, there are certain challenges which have emerged after the COVID-19 pandemic and because of the demonetization also.
What challenges? That's the panacea for everything, huh? COVID, demon.
No, ma'am, there are other challenges as well. So the first challenge is that they are having challenges that how we should connect to the parties from where we can go for exports. The exports potential has not been materialized so far.
What does that have to do with demonetization?
Ma'am, no, I was telling about new points, but the issues with the demonetization was that the demand was as such slashed for such products. That is what the members are saying. And because of that, certain challenges were there.
Okay. So should we go to the economy? Would you like to discuss that or discuss something else?
Ma'am, certainly I would like to discuss
Okay. So
it.
if I ask you today, which is the sector you would address more? The supply side or the demand side? To fix what is wrong with the Indian economy? Which would you look at? Of course, both have to be looked at, but which is really causing problems?
Ma'am, the first one should be the demand side, because we are seeing that in the rural economy, data points out that how the demand is low. So we need to fix that, but the supply side is also important.
Yeah, if there's no demand, you're one person who said it good. Because if there's no demand, that's why private investment is not coming. There's slack capacity available.
Yes.
All right, very good. Now, the Law Commission has given its recommendations on one election.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, there are two things that are bothering me. Now, tell me what are your views. One is this unity, interim unity government. What is this? What can it be? And second, are you aware that this proposal was mooted in the past also and then it was not taken up? Are you aware of the history of it?
I'll have to read on the history.
Okay, so but anyway, PSI is your subject, no?
Yes, ma'am.
So the other thing is that in a federal polity like India, regional issues should be important.
Yes, ma'am.
So do you think ultimately that this one election, one country should be done, or do you think, of course, I cannot find any fault with same common electoral rolls, which should be there.
Yes, ma'am.
Why the different electoral rolls beats me. But otherwise, do you think it should be done, or there are too many negatives to it?
Ma'am, from my understanding, it is a very progressive move that we should.
Why is it progressive?
Ma'am, we are seeing that how different issues are there when elections are happening all the time across the country. The first one being that how a lot of money is being fueled into doing the elections. Then how most of the time.
If you're a democracy, that's the core. Money can be given on subsidies to people who don't deserve them. Why can money not be spent on election? That is what our democracy is all about.
Ma'am, certainly that is true. But if we will
And look
have...
at the money that, if you see the total of the electoral bonds and how much money the government spends, just see, what is the total of the electoral bond?
Around 10,000 crore.
Are you sure?
It was more than 10,000 crore, I think.
And how much money is spent on election? So anyway, this is the point. So what else? Why do you think it's progressive? Why else?
Ma'am, the second is that because the model code of conduct is applied whenever there is an election, and then the project...
How long does it go on? In a year, say take Uttar Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh had the last election in
2022.
22, huh? So how many months did Uttar Pradesh lose for model code of conduct?
Around 2 months will be there when the
MCC... max. And after 22, now in 2024, how many months will they lose? 2 months?
Yes, ma'am.
So is it a lot?
Ma'am, certainly that is...
In fact, I think all the work gets done before the MCC comes. Look at the number of space launches, dhadadar, bridges, temples, this, that and the other, FTAs, everything is happening now. So like we say in government, the benefit of a meeting is actually some things happen before the meeting. So that's what's happening. I think it's a very efficient thing. Huh? What do you say?
Ma'am, certainly you pointed out rightly that work is happening, but we have to make it more efficient.
Okay, I was just provoking you. Yeah.
Ma'am, the third point is that we are seeing that how a lot of freebie culture is also there, which happens around the elections somehow.
Not really, that will always happen. Freebies, if they're given for 5 years, they will continue to the next election and before that again, even if it's 5 years. No, but the real trouble that I have is regarding the issue of federalism. Regional issues are important.
Yes, ma'am.
They will get totally clouded in the national issue. That is the problem. Second is unity government. How do you think it will work? They're talking about extension of the term of certain state governments, reduction of the term of certain state governments, and should a government fall, then what is it? Unity there can never be. Look at the role of governors. So that is what is bothering. No, does it bother you?
The modalities of it will be very complex.
No, if a government falls in 2 years, what happens in the next 3 years?
We will
President's
have to...
rule?
Yes, ma'am. We will have to see what will happen. Yes.
Oh, all right, fair enough. We're just discussing. Okay, now 2 things in the papers I have noted. One is that US has talked about fresh sanctions on Russia.
Yes, ma'am.
And second is nobody is talking of any sanctions on Israel. I think they are worse than Hitler now. They're actually worse than Hitler because those people are totally defenseless. The poor Palestinians it's not Hamas at all. They clearly want to get it out and control the land. Now they even took a goal at that West Bank. They've started attacking West Bank also. Don't you think we should propose sanctions against Israel? They are violating everything, violating the International Court of Justice, violating everything.
Ma'am, any sanctions that are to be applied to any party, they should be a multilateral effort. So far...
can't we lead in building the consensus? Of course. But US sanctions are never multilateral. The US always does and everyone follows. So can't we lead an effort we talk about humanitarian considerations, morality. There is no morality in what Israel is doing now. You know, October 7th ka, chalo theek hai, some reaction. But now, for the last several months, don't you think we should lead? I mean, Qatar is there on the table, but we are not.
Ma'am, diplomacy always have to be quiet, subtle and nimble.
So we have succeeded in our diplomatic efforts to bring a ceasefire, bring to a close the war in Gaza.
No, ma'am. But ma'am, my approach would have been that we are negotiating. We are not on the negotiation table, so as to say.
We should be.
We should be certainly. And ma'am, but we have good relations with both Israel and the Palestine.
To what use? There's a bloodbath going on, butchery going on. To what use? That is the point I'm making. We talk of we are very moral, but we have not even suggested that. Any punitive action against Israel, everybody saying, oh, ceasefire. And we're not even on the mainstream table, right?
Yes, ma'am.
It's just pondering.
Yes, ma'am.
Now we look at another area. Even little Qatar is there.
Yes, ma'am.
The other area now, we have had issues with Maldives. And what have we looked at the counterpoise? Recently, we have managed to have some agreement with some country as part of our diamond necklace.
Yes, ma'am.
And dominance. What is that?
Ma'am, the new projects.
What is the latest in the news the last 2-3 days?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, we have gone for a making of an airstrip in 𝐂𝐸𝐬𝐿𝐵 Islands, which is part of the deal which we had with Mauritius. And as you rightly said, that there is a necklace of diamonds.
Actually, it's not a formal policy. We just talk about it.
Yes,
but tell me one thing. When China dominates an economy with its debt trap, which we don't do, maybe Sri Lanka, maybe Maldives, maybe Somalia, maybe all of African countries, there's no outcry against it. But whenever India does an outcry, look what's happened. Extreme case of Maldives. Nepal, you go, Tamil main market, go back Indians. Sri Lanka, of course, we knew. And even in Mauritius, we have good relations with the present Prime Minister. President or Prime Minister?
Prime Minister.
Prime Minister. So, but despite that, he has had to face that that agitation.
Yes, ma'am.
So why does this happen? Why is India looked at as a undesirable entity and China is not? Why is that?
Ma'am, the traditional text of Arthashastra offers the reasoning for it. Mandal Siddhant says that every neighbor's friend, for example, there is a small country.
No, I understood.
So we are standing at the border, so our intentions will be questioned. That is the major issue. And China is neighbor's neighbor, so they become their alleged friend. So
I don't agree. I don't agree at all. In this case, applying at all. So Djibouti also should be with us. They should not be with China. Because before that, there's Maldives. There's so many people.
Yes, ma'am.
No, that's very simplistic. I think it needs a little deeper thought. We'll discuss in the feedback.
Okay, ma'am.
You've done nuclear disarmament, huh?
Yes.
So where is it headquartered? The UN Agency for Disarmament, you know?
Ma'am, it's in Geneva.
Very good. All right. And do you think really there should be nuclear disarmament? I mean, you know, it's like an elite club. NPT, keep others out. ICPW, your chemical weapons, keep the others out and the biggies don't dismantle. US and Russia have not dismantled, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And Putin is now threatening
a nuclear war.
So what do you think of this whole issue of disarmament? That's also weaponized, no?
Ma'am, disarmament should be non-discriminatory. And as India has rightly said that...
It is not so, no?
Yes, ma'am, it is not so.
What should we do then? What should we? Should we not talk of it? Should we agree to it? What should we do?
Ma'am, our policy should to have a world which is free of nuclear weapons and should have peaceful use of nuclear energy. So as India rightly says that the global nuclear disarmament should be non-discriminatory and there should be no nuclear have and have-nots. US, Russia, all the P5, including other non-P5 countries which are India and Pakistan, they all should disband their nuclear weapons because they are totally destructive in nature.
There's a very thin line between nuclear energy for peaceful purposes and for non-peaceful purposes. So how do you straddle that problem?
Ma'am, we can rope in different agencies like the International Atomic Energy Agency and they can go for different kind of regulatory and auditory methods through which they can check that what are the different enrichment level of uranium that the countries have achieved, ma'am.
You're into blood donation, huh?
Yes, ma'am.
How much technically do you know about it?
Ma'am, I was part of the blood donation awareness campaigns in the college.
So have you been curious to know more about it?
Ma'am, yes, I have been curious.
Okay, so I'll ask you a question. Is the screening of donors done before donation or after?
Ma'am, the blood donation is, the blood is taken and then from that sample, the screening is done.
Correct. Now, even though it's screened, do you know what markers it's screened for, the blood? Which are the markers?
Ma'am,
like HIV, etc.
Yes,
do you know all the markers?
No, ma'am, I'm not aware.
Do you know the critical thing, even after screening, sometimes infections are transmitted? Are you aware of that?
Ma'am, there can be a possibility.
So how does that happen?
Ma'am, there can be certain infections which can go undetected because of the high amount of blood which is coming.
Window period. The window period in which they show up in the blood. So our technology is trying to shorten the window period. Okay, very good.
I'll read about it.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
So, Rishabh.
Yes, sir.
You sing contemporary Hindi songs, right?
Yes, sir.
So, just sing a song, recent song on Deshbhakti.
So, I'm not able to think of any song. Can you suggest me, sir? Or can I take some more time?
Yes.
ऐ मेरे वतन के लोगों जरा आँख में भर लो पानी जो शहीद हुए हैं उनकी जरा याद करो कुर्बानी.
Very nice, very nice. You are also in this. You have done IT. You are basically IT guy, right? You are working also.
Yes, sir.
So what is this? There is a IT infra. We call IT infra for every organization. There is a certain IT infra.
Yes, sir.
What comprises IT infra?
So it is also defined in the IT Act. It comprises of different hardware and software. Hardware will include different servers, different computers, different kind of data files which can be there in those servers. The software will include the intellectual property, for example, the HRMS system. These hardware and softwares will comprise.
So you mean to say applications or softwares comprises IT infra?
Yes, sir.
Are you sure?
So both the hardware and the software will be IT infra.
Usually when we talk about IT infra, we basically talk about the servers,
Yes, sir.
network and security,
Yes.
not the applications.
Okay, sir. I'll read on it, sir.
Yes. All these applications, they are hosted on cloud.
Yes, sir.
Cloud environment.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there is public cloud and private cloud.
Yes, sir.
So can you differentiate between private cloud and public cloud?
So private cloud would include the servers which we have hosted in our own organization. And public cloud would be that, for example, if we are taking the Azure network, we are taking their systems which are there in their servers, in their centers, and we are just procuring them for the time being.
Then what about on-prem data center?
So can you please...
On-prem. You have heard of on-prem?
Okay, sir. Sir, I'll have to read on it, sir.
On-prem means on the premise.
Okay, sir.
On the premise data center.
Okay, sir. So I'll read on it, sir.
So we have our organization and data center is located inside the organization.
Okay, sir. I'll read on it, sir.
Okay. So you are also working on this open source softwares. So on which open source softwares you are working right now?
Sir, in the college, we were using the GitHub for different kind of projects which we were launching on that platform. And then different branches were formed through which the juniors, the seniors, the current project, we were all working through.
So what are the challenges basically while working with open source softwares?
So the first challenge is that different malicious actors can destroy the project. For that, we have to go for one core branch through which the changes will be pushed only when the people who are core team will push that. So those malicious actors can be prevented in that way. The second, sir, would be that extensive documentation have to be maintained because constant changes are being made to the code. So we have to go for extensive documentation. Sometimes some juniors were making some changes in the code, but they were not pushing it to the documentation. So that was a challenge, sir.
So why most of the these organizations, they prefer open source softwares?
Yes, sir.
Well, for the development of their softwares and all.
Yes.
Why is it so?
So the prime benefit is of cybersecurity. Because it is open to public, anyone can come and they can suggest the labs that are there in the system. For example, there was also a society in our college through which different students from second year, third year, they were working on these projects to tell the companies what are the issues with their software, and then they even...
Okay, so cybersecurity will be improved, that's what you are...
Yes.
So you are also doing this cybersecurity, you are also well aware of cybersecurity.
Yes, sir, right? I read it in college, sir.
Okay. So there are so many attacks, layer 3 attack, layer 5 attack, layer 7 attack, these type of attacks happens. You know that?
Yes, sir.
What is layer 7 attack?
So any kind of infrastructure, there is this concept called air gapping, where we go for making layers of infrastructure to protect the core infrastructure. For example, when in the Kudankulam nuclear power plant...
Everything is fine. You just tell me what is layer 7 attack?
Sir, I'll have to read on it, the significance of layer 7.
Okay, then what is DDoS attack? It is a most popular word, right?
Yes, sir.
DDoS attack. What is DDoS attack?
So it is a distributed denial of service attack. And if we have, let's say, UPSC website, and there are different malicious actors sitting in different continents, then they will keep hitting the website multiple times, not to use the website, but through a fake server, so that the infrastructure gets overwhelmed and that website will get down, sir.
Okay. And I will ask you one more question on the same thing. What is critical information as defined in IT Act?
So critical information and critical information infrastructure is defined in the IT Act. It tells about that certain power grids, certain banking infrastructure.
That is fine. What is the definition? We know that banking infrastructure, power infrastructure, that will come under CAA.
Yes, sir.
Critical Information Infrastructure.
Yes, sir.
But what is the definition that has been defined? That is important, basically,
Yes, sir.
right?
Sir, can I make an estimated guess? I have the understanding.
Yeah.
So it pertains to that information which is very critical for the overall welfare of the people, and if that is destroyed or taken away, or if there is some change in it, then it will have a wide impact on the people and the society overall.
Destruction of those systems will have impact on country's economy, security, etc.
Yes, sir.
I will ask you one last question. See, there are so many organizations working in cyber security. There is Ministry of Home Affairs, there is I4C,
Yes, sir.
there is NCIAPC, National Critical Information, and there is CERT-in, there is NSC. Do you think they have overlapping roles?
So do you think?
They have overlapping roles.
So it is a multifaceted issue, cybersecurity. And as you rightly said, sir, there are many different organizations, but Government of India has gone for a very important thing, that there is also a National Cybersecurity Coordinator. So it is that node which is bringing all the parties together to act as a common interface for all
So there is no overlapping.
So there is overlapping, but it is ensured that the working and the functioning
No,
is...
there is no overlapping as such. Do you know what I4C does?
So I4C?
I4C.
Yes, sir.
What I4C does? What it is meant for?
So it is again for the cyber command control.
No, it is only meant for cybercrime.
Okay, sir. I'll read on it, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Rishabh, you're working with Saarthi as a product manager.
Yes, ma'am.
So what is your duties there?
Ma'am, I am responsible for the technical side of the product. So it started in 21 and it was COVID era. So I built from scratch their website and their application. Secondly, because I was preparing for the exam also, so I have an understanding of what are the different requirements for the content, for the in terms of educators, what are the videos we are developing. So I was also responsible as a team lead for the content and the educator team as well.
Since you also have startups somewhere, second position in startup somewhere.
Yes,
so what do we understand by bootstrapping?
Ma'am, Bootstrap is that startup which is not taking any funding and it is working on a totally self-generated revenues. So we are a bootstrapped startup and we have not taken any funding.
But if I'm right, Saarthi earlier did raise funding through an angel investor.
Ma'am, it was just a seed funding. As of now, we have still not went for the Series A funding. So it was just a seed.
Now, what is the difference between seed funding and bootstrapping?
Ma'am, bootstrapping would be purely working on the own revenues.
Okay.
And the seed funding would be that we are starting a new vertical and we have given the ideas to the investors and we have raised funds on that.
But if you've raised funds, then how are you working on your own funds? Just something to ponder on.
Yes,
anyways, since you're also a software person, the languages these days are R, Python, but most colleges in India still teach only C++.
Yes, ma'am.
And this does not give Indian engineers an edge, because if we look at developed countries,
yes, ma'am,
R and Python are being taught even in school,
yes, ma'am,
even at school level. So how do we overhaul our curriculum? And
ma'am, I have two opinions on that. The first one would be that C++ forms the basic foundation of computer science. And it is very important to teach students C++. Second one being that, for example, in my college, Python was introduced in third year, but there are different college hubs which does and organize workshops. So through these kind of workshops, we learned Python in the first year itself.
But isn't it important for these languages to be on the curriculum, because these are the languages going forward?
Certainly, we need to keep updating. That is one of the challenges.
So how do we regulate technical education in India?
Ma'am, for this, we have to rope in the AICTE, that is the technical regulator. And especially in computer science, where new technologies are coming up at a very fast pace. So there should be, every year, there should be certain additions to the syllabus, for example, in computer science.
Which keep the students abreast with the developments in
yes,
technology. Okay. Can you tell me what do we understand by artificial intelligence and machine learning, AI, ML, as we call it? If you were explaining this to a general person, a layman.
Certainly. Ma'am, artificial intelligence comprises of a machine or a software which tries to develop cognitive intelligence just like a human would. So for example, we go for prompt engineering where we give a prompt or a text and the person would reply. So in the same way, artificial intelligence does that. Coming to machine learning, it is an advanced form of artificial intelligence where we take in a lot of data, we made certain large language models, LLMs over it, and we ask the AI to find certain patterns in those LLMs to further generate intelligent outputs.
Now the debate around AI, one of the criticisms is that it's going to take away jobs.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is very harmful for a country like India.
Certainly, ma'am.
How do we deal with this in India?
Ma'am, there is a two-front pillar on it. I would say that it would be a creative destruction.
Okay.
If some jobs will be taken away, then new jobs will also come. So we have to skill the people in the new developments which are happening. For example, I talked about prompt engineering. It is a new field which will come because of AI. So in some jobs will be taken away, some jobs will also come, ma'am.
But with the curriculum which is not up to date, would new jobs be created in India?
We will have to update the curriculum, and certainly, as we discussed, the steps should be taken in that regard.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Rishabh, who is your favorite actress?
Sir, I think Deepika Padukone has done fairly well in different films, so I would tell that she would be
On
my
the
favorite.
basis of acting?
Yes, sir.
What was her best acting? Which film would you like to quote?
So the film Chapak, where she played the role of an acid attack survivor, I think her acting in that film was really good.
Okay, great. You are from Saharanpur.
Yes, sir.
So there is a place called 𝐂𝐻𝐫𝐸 in Saharanpur, right?
Yes, sir.
So there was a time that it was, so to say, considered socially as a very secular place because it has a temple also, a
Yes.
Gurudwara also, right?
Yes,
and
sir.
also now recently developed a mosque also.
Yes, sir.
But in recent years, we are seeing a change in the opinion of the society that better not go into that place of single religion. Why is that transition happening?
So firstly, I myself visit that peer being a Jain. So I would say I am the best example in the society for secularism. And my family and including my Nanaji, my Dadaji, we all have been visiting that peer. Secondly, sir, talking about the change, people can have the right to not go as well. Even that is a right which is well within the society. So everyone is free to have their opinions. But the trend is same, sir. We are a country and a city of where different religions can coexist, and it is one of the shining examples of India's model of secularism.
Okay, great. Which day do you visit in the week?
So Thursday.
Thursday. Why Thursday?
So I will have to ask my mother and learn more on it. But mother visits Thursday, every Thursday she visits.
Okay, talking about secularism, what is your take on UCC, Uniform Civil Code?
So Uniform Civil Code should be applied, and but it should be consultative, and thorough deliberation should be done.
Do you think it is possible in India? We have the diversity of not just religious but also different tribes also,
Yes, sir.
who might at times have protested against
Yes,
the idea of UCC.
Yes, sir.
So do you think it is possible in India to form one single UCC?
So UCC covers certain specific subjects like marriage, inheritance, divorce, adoption. So over these subjects, there is indeed a possibility that we can develop a consensus so that the rights of different women, different children, they can be secured across the different religious diversities as well. So on these subjects, there should be certain common consensus, and that will only help the society. And it is also the part of the directive principles of state policies, sir. So it should indeed be developed, sir, but only after taking everyone on the board and having deliberations with everyone, sir.
Okay, you are optimistic about it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we also have a paper mill in Saharanpur.
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
What is the name of that paper mill?
So the name is Star Paper Mill,
Star.
and my father worked there for 10 years, sir.
Okay. So there is also a wasteland around it.
Yes,
where
sir.
there is a mountain of waste.
Yes, sir.
So what are the waste out of this paper and pulp industry?
So the primary waste material which they take in is bagasse, which they take from the sugar mills. Then they extract certain materials from that bagasse to make the paper, and then further certain pulps from that bagasse which is not used, that is accumulated as the waste, sir.
Only that? Can you be very specific also?
Sir, I'll read on it more, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Rishabh.
Thank you so much, sir.
This is your first interview?
Yes, ma'am, this is my first interview.
First of all, we all find you a very, very promising candidate. Find you very good, pleasant, mild, and you show a very good personality. It's a personality test. You have many interests. You don't get into arguments. You are humble. You admit where you don't know. These are all very positive. But as you say, there are certain data gaps which you need to work on. But there's lots of time. You have a month to go.
Yes, ma'am.
You're intelligent enough, so we're not going to spell each of them out. But there are certain things in the current affairs which I think you should be looking at, or otherwise, you should be looking at the applied aspect of your skill. Apply to various situations in governance.
Yes, ma'am.